Very good. Good evening, everybody. We're going to have a lively discussion around two films. These two films, which we hope you had a chance to view prior to the presentation, because we're going to talk about some of the detail in those films, are very different films and in some ways very similar. One of the reactions that I had coming out of those films that was also shared with people that I know was the feeling of being stalked, the feeling of being overwhelmed, almost as if your sense of the world has been turned upside down. And we're going to talk about why that is, because if you look at the content of the films, they're very different. One's about a cult and a girl that is part of that cult and then escapes the cult and then goes to visit her sister for a period of time. And the rest of the film we see as backflashes to her experience on the farm with this cult. The second film is about a mother that's raising a psychopathic child. And so on the surface, both those films are different in content, but we leave them and experience them very similarly. And what I'm going to talk about is the experience of the intrapsychic predator that we all are familiar with. Now, I will refer back to it. A couple of quotes from Pinkola Estes from her book. Even with the best parental nurture, the intruder's sole assignment is to turn all crossroads into closed roads. And what that means is, and the reason she addresses this predator or this intruder in the first chapter is and she's talking about a woman, but I would say for anybody who's going through the individuation process, they are having to confront the predator. And if you're a psychotherapist and you work with clients, you know that when a patient comes to you and is initiating therapy, very often as they are moving into new realms or there are new experiences in their life, very often it's common for dreams to come up that are very nightmarish and in which have characters that resemble the predator. And what she's saying is, even with the best parental nurture, the intruder, or what we're calling the predator, is trying to destroy all avenues of growth for the person they inhabit. So we start out, when we talk about the seduction that Martha experiences on this farm, I think it's real important. If we ask the question, well, how did Martha get caught up in this? How did she get pulled there? I think Durkin's first film, which was a short film that he made while he was in production of the feature film, that is called Mary Last Seen, is all about a young man and a young girl that are driving, and they stop at a gas station. You don't know where they're going. You know that they're a couple. She goes in the gas station. He goes into her purse and gets her cell phone, gets out of the car and throws the phone across the highway. So at that point, you know something's up. She gets back in the car, can't find the phone. He's telling her, forget about the phone. If you want the phone in a few days, I'll get you a phone. They're making their way towards this farm, which they end up going to, and he insists that she stay there and says that he's going to meet her later. When in fact, at the very end of the film, when she's taken in by this cult family, he leaves and gets back in his car and goes somewhere, supposedly to get another victim. So it goes back to what I was saying about this lover boy predation that this woman was teaching about. So what's so attractive to Martha is this farm presents itself, and this leader Patrick presents himself as idyllic, as living off the land, and there's something very very attractive about that. When we talk about the Jungian archetype of the puella or puer aeternis, the eternal girl or eternal boy, that's tied up in this fascination with this primal trust, the Garden of Eden, the mother-child bonding, and the inevitability, as we know from the story of the Garden of Eden, of betrayal. I'm going to talk about this film, and we can certainly talk about it from many different points of view, particularly the confrontation of this psychopathy in children, which there was a New York Times article that came out a few weeks ago. If you Google the title, "Can a 9-year-old be a psychopath?" It's a wonderful article about a psychologist that's researching psychopathy and sociopathy in children. It's coming up some very interesting things. But one of the things that really stands out is the fact that we don't know the cause of sociopathy in children. It's a strange thing. We do know a lot about the neurobiology of relationship and the importance of right brain development in the attachment between the mother and the child, that emotional resonance between the mother and child actually begins in the 3rd trimester and goes for 18 months and beyond 18 months. But the first 18 months is crucial for the proper development of the brain and development of the ability for the child as it grows up to have appropriate and meaningful and need-fulfilling relationships. And if during that time there's trauma, abuse, neglect, that can retard that process. And actually they found physical damage, destruction of cells in particular areas of the brain that then is difficult as the person grows up to manage, and is one of the causes of mental illness. So we don't have an answer. I think the best answer regarding nurture versus nature is both. But the film does an interesting job of providing evidence, and the book, by the way, which I highly recommend, has much more of Eva's personality, because it's written from her point of view in letters to Franklin, who you don't find out until, of course, the end of the book that he's one of the victims. But she's this is after the catastrophe that she's putting her life back together, and there's a lot about her ambivalence about motherhood, her ambivalence about having a child, her ambivalence about her relationship with Kevin in particular, and her cynicism. But the very last scene is interesting. She goes to see him in prison. He's about to be sent. He's 18. He's about to be sent to a penitentiary, the Sing Sing. And she asks him the question we all want to ask: why did you do it? And he comes back and says, I thought I knew, or something along those lines. I thought I knew. And he looks completely confused and distraught and defeated. He looks very different, very vulnerable. The first time we see a vulnerability in him. It's almost as if, and again, looking at it from a psychoanalytic point of view, that he became a projective identification of the negative side of Eva. And when Eva confronted this in herself and symbolically cleaned herself of this stain, he was able to, he was no longer identifying with this projection, and he had no identity. Why he did what he did. It was as if the spell had been broken, and now his life is ruined. But it was the point at which she can then go on with her life. She had an opportunity to go on with her life.